It's not something you go do once a year or twice a year, see a doctor and forget about it. You got to do it every day. This is your life.
What happens when a Fontan patient needs a tune-up? What kinds of procedures might a Fontan patient need after living with a Fontan heart? What can we learn from someone who has experienced a Fontan revision? Welcome to Heart to Heart with Anna. I am Anna Jaworski and your host. I'm also a heart mom to an adult who was born with a single ventricle heart and who is 27 years old. This is the reason I am the host of this podcast. I'm very excited about today's show featuring a special heart warrior. Today's show is entitled Fontan Revision, a Success Story. James Bachenheimer, also known as Jimmy Bach, was born in August 1981 with a single ventricle heart. He was diagnosed with hypoplastic left heart syndrome. Jimmy had the typical series of operations to palliate his condition. Jimmy is also a dad. He has a 10-year-old daughter named Brooklyn, who is in 5th grade. Jimmy is a salesman. He works for Hillcrest Volkswagen in New Kensington, Pennsylvania. Welcome to Heart with Anna, Jimmy.
Anna, thanks for having me. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
Well, I'm so excited to finally talk to you on the program. And I want to talk to you at the beginning about your Fontan heart. So can you tell me about how old you were when you had your Fontan and the whole series of surgeries that you had?
The first few surgeries were a couple weeks after I was born. My parents noticed I was real sluggish, took me to the doctor. Just like most other people, they figured something was wrong. So they did the first 3 surgeries. And then in 1986, they did the Fontan. I was 5 at that time.
Oh, you were 5 when you had your Fontan, which would be old nowadays, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing. They've been doing it a lot younger. This was back in the early 80s. So yeah, everything was a little bit sooner than they do it now.
Yeah, everything was so new back then. And they wanted the kids to get as big as they could before they had to operate on them.
The Fontan, I remember. The other ones, not so much. Too little, but the Fontan, that's one of the ones I just won't forget that.
Really? So you actually remember having the Fontan procedure?
Yeah, I remember being in the hospital. I got pneumonia. I was there longer than I had to be. This was in New York in the 80s, and they would bring the sports guys to visit the kids. So they brought Dennis Potvin in to see me, and there's a picture of me somewhere in a scrapbook where I'm all sick from having my lungs drained from pneumonia. But yeah, that one's kind of seared in my memory.
Wow. Such a little kid, and to have all these grown-up athletes coming in. Were you excited? Did you know who he was?
I don't remember being excited. I just remember that I didn't want to get a big needle in my lung. But yeah, I didn't really watch too much sports when I was little. At least I don't remember watching sports. The older I got, then yeah, the more I appreciated the occasional athlete coming to visit kids.
Right. So you're in your 40s now, and you were 5 years old when you had your Fontan. Did you have some warning signs between 5 and 40 to let you know that maybe the Fontan was not going to last forever?
Well, about 92, they found, just doing a regular echo and a regular catheterization, they found an aneurysm in the aorta. So I needed surgery that wasn't Fontan in between that time. So they did that in 92. And after that, I was really doing pretty good health-wise until about my mid to late 20s. But I also put a lot of wear and tear on my body from not making the best choices as a adolescent and youth growing up. But as warning signs...
You're not the first person to tell me that.
Yeah. It's like when I was little, it's kind of like being a child star. Yeah, I'm a sick little kid. Everybody loves me. You get little athletes coming to see me. I'm on TV. I was on Geraldo. I thought that was pretty cool growing up. And then,
wow. You were on Geraldo?
Yeah, I was. Yeah. Back in 92, 93. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So what did you talk about?
I got to meet a Yankee player when that 92 operation happened. So Don Mattingly came to see me, and I saw him at a game in Florida. Then Geraldo read that in the New York Post and flew me down to Miami to do his show.
Oh my gosh. So did you talk about your heart on the show?
It was a quick little segment because we couldn't be in New York for the show. They flew me down to Florida because they were doing spring training down there. And so I could be on the camera with Don Mattingly, and they asked me a couple questions about my heart. And I kind of stood there. Yeah, I was a little stunned as a kid with a big camera in front of me. I answered the questions the best I could. But yeah, there's a video somewhere out there of me on Geraldo.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. So you had an aortic aneurysm. And they were able to take care of that, but it looked like your Fontan was okay. And it sounds to me like you had a normal adolescence, and by normal, I mean you weren't constantly in the hospital having heart issues. A normal young adulthood, would that be true?
Yeah, that's definitely true, girl. Yeah. Throughout my teenage years, my early 20s, mid 20s, I go do my checkup every 6 months and catheterization here and there to check the pressures and all that. But everything was really great until about the late 20s when I started slowing down. Would get tired going upstairs. I have to rest more frequently. And I wasn't me. And I was in Pittsburgh about the time. Yeah, that's how I knew. I live in Pittsburgh, and I see the Children's Hospital up here. They're great. So they did their tests and talked to me about revision. I sat, I listened, and it sounded like a good idea. So we did that in February of 2011.
Okay. So when you had your revision, was it an extracardiac Fontan?
That I'm not sure of. I just know it as the Fontan revision. They didn't tell me if it's extracardiac, so maybe it's not. It's something I got to read up on. I'd definitely like to find out what extracardiac is on the Fontan.
So with the extracardiac Fontan, my son also had to have a Fontan revision. And like you, when he had his first Fontan, it was all intracardiac. The baffle that they inserted into the heart was inside the heart. Well, as you guys got older, they refined some of these procedures, and now they have what's called an extracardiac Fontan, where the baffle, instead of being sewn inside the heart, is actually outside the heart. And that's why it's called extracardiac, meaning outside the heart. And it's supposed to reduce the amount of arrhythmias that can develop because of the scar tissue that forms on the heart after cutting on the heart the way they had to put the baffle in. Right. So, and it should hopefully last you guys forever. That's the goal, right?
That's the plan, right?
Yeah. Again. So my son had an extracardiac Fontan when he was 17, and it was fairly new. I mean, it had only been around for, I think, 10 years or so, maybe not even 10 years when he had it. So it's one of those things where you just are so lucky. And my son was the same way. He was so lucky that medical science is just keeping that step ahead of you all, so that when you need something, oh yeah, we just happen to have this other procedure. It's interesting that you said you developed an aortic aneurysm, because my son did as well. Oh, yeah. And when they fix the aneurysm is when they decide to go ahead and do the extracardiac Fontan as well. So when they did your Fontan revision, do you know if they did anything to work on any arrhythmias that you might have had?
They definitely did. They did, I believe it was a Mays procedure.
And my son had the same thing. Yeah. Okay.
And they also did a pacemaker. So I have a pacer that was installed when they did the revision. Yeah, and it's been working great. I don't really have any arrhythmias, maybe the occasional tachycardia for a second or two, if that. Whatever they're doing is definitely working on me.
So you went from feeling too tired to go up and down the stairs very well to having a complete revision, a pacemaker inserted. What's your energy level like now?
Now I feel great. At 40 years old, I'm glad I'm 40 and I feel awesome. I could walk 3, 4, 5 miles a day. Not right now because it's cold and snowing, but when it's nice out, I could do that. I don't really get all that tired doing much activity. Stairs could be a little tough, but as long as I'm not playing anything extenuating, like outside throwing footballs, running around outside, I do pretty well.
This content is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The opinions expressed in the podcast are not those of Hearts Unite the Globe, but of the hosts and guests, and are intended to spark discussion about issues pertaining to congenital heart disease or bereavement.
You are listening to Heart with Anna. If you have a question or comment that you would like addressed on our show, please send an email to Anna Jaworski at anna@hearttoheartwithanna.com. That's anna@hearttoheartwithanna.com. Now, back to Heart with Anna.
Jimmy, before the break, we were talking about your Fontan revision. We were talking about how you also had a maze procedure and you also got a pacemaker. What advice would you give to somebody who's afraid about getting the Fontan revision?
The worst part is probably right before when they put you under, because that's when all the fear and anxiety is around you. But we've all been through what we've been through, and the doctors have gotten us out of it and to this point so far. So I trust them. I trust medical science. I trust the medical professionals. They know what they're doing. And that eases me when I go under to know that this guy here standing above me with a scalpel is one of the most talented human beings ever to do this. So that puts my mind at ease. And just knowing and reading other people who've gone through the revision and how well they're doing. I personally want that if I don't have that.
Right. Now, you were talking about your surgeon, but it sounds to me like you moved around a bit from when you were a child. Did you have the same surgeon who operated on you for your first procedure?
No, my first Fontan was in Long Island Jewish Hospital in Long Island, New York, North Shore University, really good hospital. And that's where I had my first 4 operations. The shunt, the band, coarctation, Fontan, all done there. Then the one in 92, that was in All Children's in Tampa, Florida. I had Dr. Martinez and Dr. Henry in Tampa in the early 90s when they were just building All Children's down there to be a real big congenital hospital. So they took care of me for 20 years until I came to Pittsburgh.
Oh, wow.
And the surgeon here at UPMC Children's was working with my doctors in Florida, so they were able to talk back and forth. So Dr. Morell in Pittsburgh, the surgeon up here, who's great, who did my Fontan revision, was real close with all the doctors I went and saw for years.
That helps a lot, don't you think? Having that kind of communication and having the experience of having doctors who have communicated with each other, so you're not having to explain everything all over to somebody. Do you feel that made the experience a little bit easier for you?
Yeah, it definitely did. Knowing that Dr. Morell and Dr. Martinez know me and know my heart and can talk about it together is just put me at ease going under.
Now, you were an adult having your last procedure. Were you also a dad at that point?
Not yet. I was close. My girlfriend was maybe 2-3 months pregnant at the time. Yeah, this was February 2011. Yeah. So she was pregnant. And I knew we were having a kid. So that added to it. I definitely wanted to make it out of this one. And part of the reason I got the revision was so I could be a dad and kind of live a fuller life.
Right. Did you take any special precautions knowing that you had this girlfriend and this baby on the way? Like, for example, did you make a will or did you do anything special like that?
And at that time, I didn't really have anything to will to anybody. So I didn't do that. I had to do the living will. And where something happens, who makes a decision? So that was tough. Mm-hmm. I did not pick my girlfriend at the time. I picked my dad. I figured I'll put it in his hands.
Well, your dad had been there a few times before. So
yeah, he knew what he was doing.
Right. And your parents always have your best interests at heart. So that makes sense.
I prepared health-wise. I would go on the treadmill. I'd work out. I'd try to be in healthy shape physically. So coming out of it wouldn't be as bad as it would if I were a little more overweight or a little less in shape. As hard as it was, because my exercise tolerance wasn't very good. I just tried to keep at it.
Do you think that helped you in the long run?
Yeah, I bounced back pretty quick. I was in the hospital 5-6 days, if that. When I was walking the halls a day or two before I went home, my doctor, Dr. Bierman, walked by me in amazement that I was out of bed walking so well. Mm-hmm. So I think prepping the body before definitely helped me get out of it easier.
What do you think helped you psychologically, Jimmy?
Psychologically, well, knowing the experience of the doctors, knowing that they know what they're doing, knowing that I've kind of been here before,
Mm-hmm.
having that faith and that trust in them. And you know what? It was tough. It was nice to have someone to lay next to at night. So, my daughter's mother obviously helped me there. That was great, having someone to cry on.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's nice not to cry by yourself,
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's hard to make it through those tough decisions and those tough times when you feel isolated in the world. Just having another human being there who will hold your hand. She couldn't fix it, but she could at least be there with you. So you weren't making that journey all by yourself. And you had a new baby coming. Do you think that just knowing that you had a new baby on the way kind of gave you a motivation to be a fighter?
Absolutely. Yeah. I didn't just want to be a picture that this kid never met. This was your dad. Here's a picture of him. He had a bad heart. I wanted to actually be there and raise my kid. So that helped me not just collapse and not be able to handle what was going to go on.
I can't believe that you were discharged after 5 days. My son had a much more difficult journey. So I guess you didn't have a problem with pleural effusions or any infections. It sounds like you just sailed through your recovery.
Yeah, I had some memory problems at home.
Mm.
My short-term memory was weird. It felt very disoriented at times. I didn't know certain people in the car, even though I knew who they were. Things weren't clear to me.
Mm-hmm.
So for a few weeks, I did have that at home. A little bit of confusion, a lot of confusion.
When do you feel like things changed and you were more back to yourself?
Oh, by May, mid-May, early May. I remember we were out just watching TV, and me and my girlfriend had a babysitter that night. So we went out with some old friends, and that was the night they called Bin Laden. And I felt good. And I was outside socializing and being me again for a little bit. And then I tried working part-time and put one foot in front of the other, and took about a year or so until I felt really healed.
That's exactly what my son said, even though he was only 17. And I thought as a teenager, he would bounce back faster because he was only in the hospital 2 weeks after his first Fontan when he was an infant. He was only 10 months old. But when he was 17, he also seemed to take much, much longer. And he told me it was about a year before he really felt like himself. But then he felt like the best Alex he had ever been. Like he just felt like he had so much energy. And it was really amazing how much it's like he came into himself,
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that. That's good stuff.
Well, I think the Maze procedure and not having to deal with some of those arrhythmias made a difference. And for you to have the pacemaker as well, did you feel like you had almost like an extra security blanket there with that pacemaker?
I did for a while. I'd say about a year and a half after the surgery. Mm-hmm. And then the generator stopped working on it.
Oh.
So, it really gave me a good year or two of uncertainty there. I was on the transplant list for a while because I just didn't know what was wrong. And then they figured it out. The generator is completely on zero.
Wow.
So once I put a new generator in after that, that's when it really kicked in. And I started losing weight and feeling more active and working again. I was on disability for years. After they fixed the pacemaker and the generator, I hit the ground running.
Heart to Heart with Anna is a presentation of Hearts Unite the Globe and is part of the Hug Podcast Network. Hearts Unite the Globe is a non-profit organization devoted to providing resources to the congenital heart defect community to uplift, empower, and enrich the lives of our community members. If you would like access to free resources pertaining to the CHD community, please visit our website at www.congenitalheartdefects.com for information about CHD, the hospitals that treat children with CHD, summer camps for CHD survivors, and much, much more.
Anna Jaworski has written several books to empower the congenital heart defect, or CHD, community. These books can be found at Amazon.com or at her website, www.babyheartspress.com. Her bestseller is The Heart of a Mother, an anthology of stories written by women for women in the CHD community. Anna's other books, My Brother Needs an Operation, The Heart of a Father, and Hypoplastic Left Heart Syndrome, a handbook for parents, will help you understand that you are not alone. Visit babyheartspress.com to find out more.
So, Jimmy, I'm wondering if your doctors have ever talked to you about your ejection fraction. And if not, what have they told you about the health of your left ventricle?
I haven't heard anything ejection fraction wise yet. The left ventricle, pump wise, the heart's working great. I was just at the doctor's for my 6-month checkup last week. They did the echo and all the follow-up tests. And everything looks really good, really strong. My doctor is quite impressed, and so am I.
Now, how long has it been since you had your Fontan revision?
It was February, the Tuesday after the Steelers lost to the Packers in the Super Bowl in 2011. So I think it was February 11th.
Okay.
Yeah, 11 years.
Okay. Wow. So that must make you feel good that you've been able to go this long and that you feel so good. Before the break, you were telling me that you were on disability and you were almost listed for transplant. And then they realized, oh my goodness, it's the pacemaker that's having a problem. When they fixed the generator, did they put a different kind of device in, or did they put another pacemaker just like the one you had originally had?
One just like I originally had, new generator with it.
Mm-hmm.
Then, after that, it felt like kind of smooth sailing. I wanted to go to work, so I applied to drive parts around for a car dealership, and they liked me, made me a salesman, and I was able to work my way off of disability, which was great. It's tough raising a family on not a lot of money. Whatever they give you on disability, it's not too much. It's definitely a blessing that I could feel full and live a life like people who have 4 chambers.
Right.
That's a big plus.
It is. Are you able to work full time?
Yeah, I work about 50 hours a week now.
Oh, wow. And as a car salesman, you're on your feet almost that entire time, right?
A lot of it, yeah, which is probably a good thing. I know the doctors want me on my feet moving because of how your liver could get and your legs could get. Post Fontan. That's probably something for a whole new podcast for you. But yeah, the varicose veins and venous stuff. So the more I move my legs and wear compression socks and I'm up and being active, the more my blood's pumping, and it's good. It's definitely good for me.
So you do wear compression socks?
Yeah, I do all day. I'm wearing them now, even on my day off. And
my husband's a nurse, and we have found that has helped him so much to wear the compression socks, but I never really thought about telling my child about that as well. And my child works as a pharmacy tech delivering medicines throughout this huge hospital. So you know what? Yeah. I might be buying some compression socks for a gift in the future. Maybe a Valentine's Day gift, since Valentine's is right around the corner. I hadn't really thought of that, but
they got a little
have you had? Yeah, there you go. Why not? Have you found that varicose veins is a problem? Because I've actually had a couple of other heart warriors ask me if they knew of other people who had varicose vein problems.
Yeah, it's from what my doctors tell me and from talking to other people in the CHD community. Fontan patients have definitely been having varicose vein issues, and my legs look like my grandma's legs. So that's a downfall, but I can live with it. I'll wear pants.
I know my grandmother had problems with varicose veins. She never had a heart condition. I wonder if varicose veins is hereditary, and some families just have problems with varicose veins. And if you have a Fontan heart, it just makes you more prone to have problems.
It piles on a little bit, yeah.
I know. It's not enough that you guys have heart issues, but then when you have family issues on top of that, or predispositions, that's something that I think makes it even more imperative that the heart warriors see their doctors regularly. Did you ever fall out of care, Jimmy?
Yeah, I did. In my early 20s, I was too concerned with being fun and having a good time. And there were times where I didn't take my medicine and I didn't go to my follow-up appointments. it must have been a good 3-4 month stretch there where I didn't take my medicine. And you could tell I was bloated. I was carrying fluid. Wasn't a good thing. So that's one thing that has changed in my life a lot, is being a professional patient and going to my appointments and learning about my condition and what I could do to live another day.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that having a daughter has made you more cognizant of the fact that you have to take care of yourself so you can be there for Brooklyn?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like I said before, I don't want to be a picture on a wall. I want to be there in her life. And I can't do that if I don't take care of my health.
Right. Right. Now, can you tell me what kind of prognosis your doctor has given you?
Really positive one. We just got a new director over at the hospital I'm at. So the director, who's my doctor, I told him, look, I'm sick of seeing so many directors go by. And he told me that he thinks that he and I can retire together. So that was a pretty positive prognosis.
That's awesome. Oh, wow. That's great. Yeah, it's nice when you can have a doctor and just stick with that one doctor for years and years and not have to worry about re-explaining such a complicated medical history over and over again, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I like this doctor. He's going to be my doctor for 20, 30 years. That's awesome. When you get new doctors time after time, sometimes I feel like they want to put their stamp on you too.
Well, you help them to become better doctors, don't you think? You complex cases. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Yeah, I do. But that one consistent doctor is a big plus for me.
Yeah, I think so too. Can you tell me how you feel now? It sounds like you're feeling great. And what advice you would give to other people so they can feel like you do?
Eat healthy. That's a biggie. For me, low sodium. Sodium's a bad thing for congestive heart failure. And the more fluid on me, the worse I feel. So I have to have a really low sodium diet. Eat super healthy. Try to exercise. Know your condition. Know your doctor. Be a pro. Be a professional patient. It's not something you go do once a year or twice a year, see a doctor and forget about it. You got to do it every day. This is your life.
I love that advice. That's so important. You're right. You're living it every day. Do you check the news to see if there are new procedures coming out or something that you need to be aware of?
Yeah, I've read about the pig heart guy. I thought that was pretty cool. That they could do DNA modifications on a pig heart and use it in a human. So
I know.
in the
Wasn't
future,
that amazing?
yeah,
That blew my mind. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. In the future, let's hope that maybe they can just grow you a new heart with your own cells. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Would be. I would love a custom new Jimmy heart one day. But
there you go.
I also kind of want to see how far I could go with this one.
Yeah, I do too. Because it sounds to me like you are working your heart hard by exercising regularly, but you're treating it right by eating right and seeing your doctor and taking your medicines. So who knows how long this heart can last you?
It's a new frontier for people in their 40s and then people your son's age too, close to 30 there.
Mm-hmm.
We're all putting that foot forward. I think we're all going to be around 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now. And I wouldn't doubt if we're around with a heart that has a Fontan and not needing a transplant.
I think so too. I think they have been able to do such fantastic modifications. I think this Maze procedure is literally a life-saving procedure and prevents people from needing lots of ablations, which seems to be something that can be life-saving as well, but also can cause a lot of anxiety and stress on people. Being able to go inside and do it while they're working on your heart anyway seems to have a lot of pluses for it, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. Multiple jobs at one time. You don't have to go under all the time.
Right.
For me, I'm glad I don't have to go through a catheterization and an ablation every year or every other year.
Yeah, it's a lot to go through. Seeing your doctor regularly and getting an echo or a Holter, that's not so bad, is it?
No, it's not. Especially the size of Holters now. They're like a Tic Tac box.
I know.
When I was a kid, I had to carry around this big VHS looking thing around my hip.
It was like a purse that you had around you. Now you can put it in your pocket. It's amazing. You guys have really seen things change, haven't you?
Yeah. I send pacemaker readings through my phone, a little device I put near my pacemaker area. It records it, sends it Wi-Fi, and then they call me and say, "Hey, Jimmy, everything looks good."
Oh, I just love that. It is amazing how far technology has come since you were a little boy.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the program and explaining your success story with the Fontan revision. I hope this will give a lot of people hope and encouragement in case they need a Fontan revision.
Oh, thanks, Anna. I'm glad to be on your show. One thing I enjoy talking about is heart problems and what we've been through. I'd never talked to anybody like that when I was younger. I was just the only kid I knew who had a bunch of heart surgeries. It's good seeing a community full of people my age and around my age. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it does my heart good as a mom to see somebody a little bit older than my son who's having such a full life, and it gives me hope for my child. So thank you again. And that's it for this episode. This is a special episode, a Saturday success story. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Heart to Heart with Anna. If you did, please leave a review on whatever platform you're using to listen to our program. And remember, my friends, you are not alone.
Thank you again for joining us this week. We hope you have been inspired and empowered to become an advocate for the congenital heart defect community. Heart to Heart with Anna, with your host Anna Jaworski, can be heard every Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern Time.